So, okay, next steps in terms of things that need to get done is trying to get Tesseract installed and then calling that from Godot. We already have sort of the basic example here. In fact, I probably broke the basic example because I started ripping that out since I don't need the test example of Summator anymore. And since I broke things, let me fix that. But once that's fixed, let me double check. Let's double check that things are working. And then we'll finish ripping this out, get Tesseract installed, and then see what we can do from there. Okay, so if I run this right now, it's probably going to fail. Let's run it. Okay, let's drag that over. This can just kind of hide in the background. Okay. Yep, crashed. Okay, let me kill that. So this is dead. I'll leave it here just in case I need to get back to it later. Okay, Control S. Command S on MacBook. Alright, so I commented that all out. So the summator is kind of useless now. If we go to register types, CPP, I even want to take out the summator entirely. Let me get my build set up because I'm going to need this anyway. And let's confirm that I can still build things. Okay. Dev. Yeah, I'm working on reading room. And remind me again. Right, because I had to slowly figure out how to get all these things to work. So this should be all I have to do. Okay. Nope, that's not going to work. Clear? Okay, clear does work. Let me look that up. Okay, so... Okay. Scones platform equals Windows. I don't know if I need to use MingW, but I know it worked with it, so let's go with it. This should succeed. I know because I wasn't streaming earlier this week because I was trying to fix my entire build system because I couldn't get anything to work. And that just was such a pain. And I wasn't going to stream boring stuff. Great, so everything's up to date. Now, if I pull this over here, let's get rid of the summator. Okay. It's like the syntax highlighting wasn't giving me a hint there, but I was pretty sure it was commenting out that way. Okay. So now it's gone. If I run that. Okay, cool. Compiling, found something different, changed. Great, awesome. So now, even if I try to import the summator, I think actually Godot is going to cache this. So if I did var summator, and then we did, yeah, so it still thinks the summator's there. But I bet you if I reloaded Godot, it would fail to find it. But that's okay. I don't need to split hairs. I know it's gone. So that can go away. Register types. I don't need to touch this file again until I want to finally clean this up and rip it out. Let's go with OCR.cpp. So I've done a little bit of pseudocode here. I know TestRec's going to be available somehow on the path. I'll have to figure out how that's going to be. And for the moment, I need to figure out how to build this thing. So I still feel like there should be a way to just import it. But for now, I think where was this? The Godot docs did make it seem like I just needed to build it. I mean, they even had an example here somewhere. So, okay, this is the summator example. That all makes sense. Done all that. And then using it, sure. Compiling a module externally. Well, I'm not going to use a module because we're going to do a GD extension. I might read this at some point. But I'm not going to read it right now. And most of this assumes that I'm working on the Godot engine itself. But I'm not going to. Okay. Summing it up. I'll read through all this at some point, but so this is also part of the engine architecture docs. So that's where I wonder if they're assuming that if you were going to build a module that you wanted to share with people, that the goal of this is to small custom modules, but what if you want to use a large external library, right? And that's what I want to do, although I'm not doing text-to-speech, I'm doing OCR. So I'm going to follow this example. I still feel like there should be a way where I can just pull in the package directly. But let's assume for the moment. Yeah, this is kind of a relic of something older. So I'm going to have to read up on, at some point I'll read up on C++ again. It's been a while since I've done too much C++. My hope would be I can eventually just pull this down as a library and just reference it. Like I probably need the .h file, either a copy of theirs or a version of my own, just so that the editor, when I build, knows what those bindings are for the methods that are available. But ideally, I should be able to just pull this library in as a library itself and reference it. For now, I'm going to go off of their docs, and their docs have you building it. Again, I feel like they're expecting that you're doing that. You need to build it because you're building a distribution module to share with others, which I'm not doing. But I'll start there. If I can get it to work, then sometime later I may try to refactor to see, is there a lighter, maybe potentially lighter weight or less build heavy solution where I don't have to build it myself. So in their example here, they've got the festival library. They're creating a modules folder. I'm not doing a modules folder. I am doing just the test-rack folder here over in source. And I could move OCR into a folder like that. I create an OCR directory to organize this. But right now, I mean, I think this is going to be the only library, at least for this project, for the foreseeable future, that I need. I can always refactor later. Right now, I'm just going to focus on, can I get the thing to work? If I can get it to work, then we'll refactor. So I've done a lot of this. I've already got some OCR stuff set up. Here's their .h file and their .cpp. And they've done the install and they've made that available there. And then register types has its thing. SC sub. Build system compiles this module. Interesting. You'll need to install the external library on your machine to get the .a library files. See the library's official documentation for specific instructions on how to do this for your operating system. All right, well, let's just start by getting it installed. So, where is Tesseract? See, here's their GitHub page. So it has the OCR engine, the OCR engine itself, and then the command line program Tesseract. Adds a new neural net. Nice. Okay. Okay, not a lot. Not really what I thought was going to happen. Okay. Brief history. Installing. Or build it from source. Let's just go with, okay, I already had that up. The engine itself and the trained data for the language. Linux, examples. If you're experimenting with OCR engine modes, you will need to manually install language training data. Okay. Maybe I'll just get this working on Windows. Installer for Windows 4 and 5. The older version, an installer for the old 302. That's interesting. I thought it said 4. Maybe that just 5 didn't have too many improvements. Okay, but 5 is the latest release. And how often do they do releases? November of 2024. June. So, bug fixes. May. Oh, okay. So, January. Alright, somewhat sporadic. UB Mannheim. Mannheim University Library. Normally we run Tesseract on Linux, but there was also the need for a Windows version. Yeah, I also would prefer to do this on Linux, but I think Godot... Actually, I haven't even checked if Godot does well on Linux. I'm assuming it doesn't. Well, I'll stick with Windows for now because that's where I've been running Godot. The uninstall removes the whole installation directory. Okay, so don't. I mean, I'm backing up all my code anyway to GitHub, but that's funny. So don't install this in a directory with other stuff you care about, because the uninstaller will just nuke the folder. Okay. There's also the older versions. In addition, we provide documentation. Okay. Ah, okay, I already did install it. Or I already had the executable anyway. Okay, so I had already installed it. I forgot I had done this step. Okay. So let me double check that. Users. I don't think that's the case. Let's try installing it again. What does it say? What path is it going to? Oh, of course. Program files. All right, so that's where Tesseract is. Documentation. Cool. Those are your docs. All right. So there's the installer. These include the training tools. Oh, MSys2. Didn't even think about that. Okay, so I could install it with MSys2. So running it. So does this mean I have it? No, it doesn't. It doesn't know about that. I wonder if, because I didn't install it with MSys2 with the Pacman install, I probably don't have access to it from here. Let me try a different. Was it Tesseract -- help? No, it doesn't have it over there either. If I what if I do a command prompt terminal Tesseract -- help? Okay. So I do have Tesseract on here. Okay. So it succeeded in installing. Again, let's just start with getting something working, and then later I may prefer to install it this way, or again, I may try to find some other way of getting the library. So the image name. It's a command line program. And I know I can also call it directly from C++, so I'll have to figure that out. But let's just get it working with An image. Okay, I do have an image. I need to send it to myself. Let me start by doing that. Do I have what I need on here? Let's go. I'll figure out a place to run this. Yeah. Okay. And I'm not going to show my screen for this, but I am going to move files over. All right, let's see here. Drive. Since it's on my phone, I'll have to get it off of there. Files. Where did that go? Okay. And where are those images? Let's see. There's 1, 2. Okay. One more minute. Just got to get these moved over. Let me open another file window. New file explorer. Let's go C drive, users, Udays. Move to, what do we want to call this thing? What is in this picture? HP 434. Let's do that. HP 434 dot JPG. Let's do JPEG. Because JPEGs were always supposed to have 4 letters in their extension until Microsoft got unhappy with it because they only ever had 3-letter extensions and decided to drop the E. Why didn't the other image come across? Okay, well, I've got one image. So let's give this a whirl. Let's see what happens. So we do tesseract, HP, and that's saying output base out. So basic usage do CBR, we'll save it to out.txt. Okay, fine. We'll call it out. And if we run that, so that took a couple seconds. That was fast, but also slow, especially later. I guess it's fast enough. I mean, at some point, I am going to want to run this at a fairly decent clip. So I'll live with that for now. Hopefully, especially if I'm calling it from C code, C++ code, that maybe it'll be a bit faster, but my gut tells me it won't. It might shave a little bit off of. Anyway, let's find out. So out.text should be here. Let's see how good it did. What are these artifacts? What is that? Memento. I wonder, actually, let me bring up that image over here. Let's bring it over. Can I make this bigger? Come on. There we go. Let's make it even bigger. There we go. Okay. So that might be a quote character. Okay, so that's a special character. It didn't know how to transcribe correctly, but this does seem. So it got confused by the header. It threw some extra. It actually tried to interpret some of the top here. It did kind of get the chapter, like a chapter 22. Ah, because that little dash there kind of looks like an H, so it did an H2. And the W is capitalized, but the T is lowercase. Interesting. Okay. And then, let's see here. To know, I mean, ... Bits of it sort of fit together. Commas there, and then the quote character. Yeah. Well, by now you probably figured out what book this is. Okay. Hollow's business. Maybe we should. So it lost the D. Dot, comma. So, okay. So this is interesting. So obviously it has an error rate. It doesn't do everything perfectly. Luckily, I don't need it to be perfect. Or do I? Maybe I do. I guess depends on how. I guess it could change how I approach this. But were you looking at the way things? But when you look at the whole thing, told is breath, deep breath. Okay, so it actually is pretty bad in that respect. Okay. That could be a problem. I could maybe work around this in other ways. I mean, there's two pieces to what I'm trying to do here. So part of it would be bringing the text into the game engine and displaying it for the user. So being able to have it so there's text in the world here that we've pulled in with OCR. So part of it would be that. And then the other part is then doing something interesting with that text, since we can then process it, do further processing on it to figure out certain keywords or sentiment or things like that. So the sentiment analysis and all those things, that wouldn't be bothered by some words here and there being garbled. I have a breakpoint there. Why is it doing a breakpoint? Non-existent function. Oh, okay. Well, that's another bug I'll have to fix. Oh, and it crashed. Okay. Yeah, well, toy coding. So if I can't reliably, I mean, that's just a single file, and it already had a bunch of issues with it. So if OCR isn't that good to transcribe that much, then I may have to do something with the pass-through camera where I literally do just bring in the book itself. All right, I'll have to think inventive here. Or, is there a thing where if I take a couple of images, do OCR on it a couple of times, can I fix those artifacts? Can I get it? Can I fix those issues by averaging the results of like 3 different images? All right, well, for the moment then, let's just call this a success. And now the question is, what do I do from here? Let's close that. This can drag off. I don't need to be running OCR directly at the moment. Okay, so that's running it. Now, can I call it? And again, I could probably tweak it. Yeah, there's arguments and things. So I might be able to be more specific with it, tell it the language, or do, change its training set. I know it's got other, English, yeah. If I specify the language, maybe it'll get smarter. So I'll have to just dig in to see what settings are available to make it smarter. Support. Okay, so that's running Tesseract. So I wonder, I do have the folder here for it as well. And I don't know. That's fine for the moment. Where is this? Yeah, also like just how big is this folder? So when it installed Tesseract, how big is that? Get info. Oh, properties. It says it's 86 megabytes. I guess that's fine. So it's not that big. I would definitely want it to be in its own folder again for a number of reasons. All right, let's go back to the Godot docs. Although, before I look at the Godot docs, let me just look at this compiling real quick. So you can install compile from compiling git install. Please follow instructions in. Amazing. Are these the same docs? Table of contents. Oh, from Git. Okay, well, fine. Git clone, autogen, configure. Yeah, there's a lot. There's gonna be a lot here. Let me just see if there's anything interesting. So, also read install instructions. I'll just quickly check to see. These are the same instructions. MSys. They got a lot of different pages here. I'm gonna have to like troll through. Just give me one more moment. To use Tesseract in your application, to include Tesseract or to link it into your app, see this very simple example. Ooh, music to my ears. Very simple indeed. Here you can find an example of a simple user application that uses Tesseract. Okay. Test example. We set a bunch of things. Project name main CPP. Actually, I think I do have some of that. Again, my C++ is a little bit rusty. I don't need that. Where was that? I thought I saw something that looked similar to this logic. Okay. Target link libraries, project name dependencies, project name. Okay. Main CPP. Well, if nothing else, this is going to be how I'm going to call it. So this init method is probably going to need to do some of these init things. Test base API tests, test.init. Okay. Set page seg mode. Set variable. Read image. argv. Okay. Just check on my timing here. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to start typing out some code. Start building this out a little bit. I know none of this is going to work, and I'm kind of fumbling around in the dark here. Again, it's been so long since I've done any C++. But, you know, that's the fun part about engineering, is if you know exactly what you're doing, it's not fun. You're not learning, you're not growing. Pix read. Okay. Let's call it process. So we can start by doing, like, what is the pseudocode? So how do we want to call this thing? So I know get totals isn't a thing. What I would want to do ideally would be we instantiate a new instance of OCR, and then we would just do something as simple as print OCR dot process, and then we might be able to do an in-memory file object or something, but for now, let's assume I have to do a local file. And so I will just do, you know, path to file.jpg. And let's assume that that's what we're going to do. So OCR is going to have a process method. Where's the .h? Okay. So process. And this is probably going to take a... I guess it can take a string. What do they have it doing here? So argv is a character array. Set image. I assume this is command line. I love how they have a simple example here, but they don't have any. They don't have a README or anything to tell you what it's doing. png.cpp. What is this? They say this is a simple example, but integrations build. What is the build? Software manager, build system, generator, software network. I love projects like this where they don't really tell you what the heck it is. Software manager, build system generator, and package manager. Okay. Other languages, tools and libraries for software management. Okay, so maybe that kind of does tell me what it is. Then I go to the README and it's just like nothing. It doesn't tell me anything. Maybe somebody else knows what this is. Okay, let's go back to where we were. So maybe this is it. As long as Tesseract's available on this path here. Then as long as it can find Tesseract, this is all it needs. Why does it have OpenCV? Okay, it probably has OpenCV. To go capture an image. Tesseract main header. Base API.h. Okay. Again, let's go with a string for now. Call it process. Let's actually have it return a string. Yeah. So it returns a string. So this returns a string. There we go. And we will return hello world. Hello world. Hello world. Now if I go back here and I just run this. Okay, we'll drag this off, get it out of the way. And then we'll bring this in. Shrink it down so we can see both. So I can see the terminal down here. If I drag this around, I go touch it. Non-existent process. Oh, of course it's a non-existent process because I didn't build it. And therein lies the problem always. Where is my terminal for building? I need this. Right, here we go. So that didn't have Tesseract, but it can... Okay, so I made the code changes. Let me build. Oh, say text is not a thing. It's going to fail. Process. And process. Hopefully we actually see this fail. You know, when you have a bug in your code, it's always nice when things actually fail and tell you they don't work. But in this case, it just said it's done building. That's not great. That means I can't rely on the build system to tell me if I made mistakes. I don't want to have to rely on IntelliSense. It's nice to have something tell you that something's not working right, but I shouldn't have to rely on that. Okay, let's try this again. Move this to the background. We'll pull in the MetaXR simulator. And let's see. Hello world. Perfect. Test early, test often. Okay. Let me take a break for 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. Quick little break. Okay, so actually, well, now it should actually work because I did build it with the fix. So let's run that again. Drag this to the back. Bring over the simulator. Right. Okay, I did successfully test that a minute ago. So we have our hello world. We'll kill that. And this build, let me pull this over to here. Okay, so we're able to call this. We're able to pass in a string. And we're able to send a string back. So as long as we can, and actually, let me return. Let's do that. Ptext. Here you say. Let's do that, and then we'll come here. We'll rebuild again. This is also testing our workflow, like how quickly can we dev like this. So when that finishes, it's compiling, it's done, come over, run simulator. This is always in the way, which is annoying. I guess I don't have to drag it out of the way. I can just click off of it. This, I can come down here. Too far, let me pull this up. And there we go. Hello. Hello world, I hear you say path to file. Great. I wish there was like, anyway, not going to optimize it now, but it'd be nice if there were ways where I could just make sure this always pops up here. I don't want to leave Godot running all the time, but if I did, how quickly... Hello world? Question mark? Build? I don't think hot reloading is going to work for this, but maybe it will. Access denied. Okay. Access denied because it's being used in red at the time. So now if I kill this and I run it again, so terminated because of errors, got an access denied, but now it's succeeded. So bin Windows. So this libocr Windows template debug. Is this the .a file? No, that's the .dll file. Okay. The .dll file, permission denied because we're writing to that when we do our build. Okay, that's important to know. Let me just close all that up. So we can't have Godot running while we're building. So back to here. Let me drag that off. Let's include... Yeah, we know this isn't going to work at the moment, but that's fine. Tesseract base API.h. And, you know, if this file does exist, I should be able to interact with it just by telling it where the file is. Actually, if I look at the file system that I have for Tesseract, where do I have that? Oh, there it is. So I have some DLLs. Do I have anything else? HTML files, exes. Test data, jar files, tiff, config, script, nothing in the script. I think test data is where it actually has the data that it uses for doing the translation. So no, I don't have that here. Okay. But let's assume this is right. Base API.h. These are OpenCV. I don't want them if I can avoid it. /test data. So I love how there's no instructions. They're probably assuming that this is running from the same place where, at least they probably ran it from. Test data engine. Okay. Setup, set page, page seg, set variable. What is pixread? Pixread's probably from read an image for use with Tesseract. This, I was surprised how quickly I found that. Interface to the Tesseract OCR. This web page is kind of weird. Like if I do dang it. Too used to being on MacBook. All right. GitHub.com/ yeah, so that is a thing. Interesting. What is this website? rdrr.io. This seems like a shady website. What's it got? Man, pixread.html. .rd. Huh. Wow, okay. So maybe this is generate. Okay, so then this is something else. Okay, well, I don't know what this website is. Just seems a little sus. This function reads an image, determines what format it is, and creates a C++ object that can be passed to Tesseract for optical character recognition. Set image. Here's an example. API example. Simple examples on how to use. Okay, yes, this is what I really want. I mean, yeah, there's the GitHub example, which was nice. Still a little odd to me. So, I guess I'm remembering now. This is one of those fun bits about C++, or how it's often used anyways. You don't really know where something's coming from. Like, okay, the naming here, but the naming here, who knows like where it's coming from. So this like pixread could be coming from Tesseract, could be coming from OpenCV. I don't know. Let me finish reading this though. So set image, recognize, get results, and delete, return character string, character string, pix destroy, clean up, test clear. Yeah, so it's really not clear how are these being used. But if we go to our API example, it is expected that Tesseract OCR is correctly installed, including all dependencies. It is expected that the user is familiar with C++, compiling and linking program on their platform, though basic compilation examples are included for beginners with Linux. More details about Tesseract OCR API can be found at baseapi.h. Oh yeah, this is the file I want. And also, this is always a great way to learn how to code in a language, is go read other people's code. You know, you can follow tutorials as much as you want on hello world examples of running something, and that can be good, right? You start with a basic hello world in a language. But oftentimes, diving into a library, you'll often learn so many little things that are important, that whether it be because it's an academic setting or because you're just working with a toy example, you're never really going to see how, you know, like an open source library is the best way to see how do you actually set something up, how do you document things, how do you make calls to other files from within that language. So I would very much say, you know, you start with your hello worlds, but at some point it's always going to be valuable to read someone else's code, especially if it's an open source library on GitHub. And I think that's even more true if you actually have some experience under your belt. You know, I remember when I was younger as an engineer, there were several times where I thought I knew a language or I thought I knew the right way to do something, but I really had a bad teacher. I was learning underneath some other engineer on my team, and they had laid the groundwork. They had done a bunch of coding, so I kind of just emulated what they were doing. And then you go and you look at a really well done, well put together open source library, and you realize, like, oh, the way I'm doing it is maybe not the best. And you can't oftentimes know that if you're just continuing to build on top of code that you already have, that you've written, or if you're basically building off the code of the more senior engineer you're working with. If there's only one or two engineers you're working with and you're kind of in that bubble working with just those engineers, then whatever their limits are from an engineering perspective will now become your limits. And the best way to break out of that bubble is to go look at open source. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, I'm not going to go dig through this file just yet, but that's super useful to have it. So I am correct in that I probably need this base API.h, include testeract base API.h, leptonica, all headers, output text. Okay. So they keep doing character arrays. So I guess even though string is available, I wonder. So I wonder if I'll have to go look at string. It's been ages. I keep saying this. It's been ages since I've done C++. I don't remember string being a thing. So maybe that's a C++ 14 feature of the language now. So I'll have to go look to see, do I have to do this? Can I make it a string? Does string carry some overhead and maybe I should be doing character array? In any case, we should be able to set up, I guess this is remind me again, the asterisk, that might be a pointer or something. Initialize testeract OCR with English without specifying test data path. Okay. Could not initialize. Okay, so we're not going to specify the path. Open input image with the library. Ooh, okay. So that's cool. Let's do this. Let's crib these notes, shall we? And then I'll set this up like this. And to be fair, when I ran it from the command line, it probably was doing all the setup and everything all at once. Whereas here, I might be able to get away with just doing this once during initial application startup, and then, you know, I'll bring all this over and see what works and doesn't work. Yeah, so it would be great if I can initialize it once. If that can do some heavy lifting. I don't know how much heavy lifting happens in this step versus what happens at inference time. But I should be able to do then this up here. something like that. And then it's going to be source, user source, Tesseract testing. Do I have a testing? I don't think I did. Tesseract, test data. I don't think I have any test data. Test config. No. So at least what I installed already of Tesseract doesn't have that. But that's fine. I'm gonna use my own image anyway. And it should be ptext. Oh, interesting. It's a Godot string. Is its type? How does it know that? Okay. And then we're setting the image. I'll have to look up what the star here means at some point. And then get the result. And then alt text. In fact, I'll just do return here. I don't need the hello world anymore. And then this alt text does need to be initialized. And this is where it's useful to keep around, you know, some example code like the summator. So it initialized it down here and then had access to it from there. So that's telling me then I should be able to set this here. And now alt text should be available there. I'll keep this for now, but you know, ideally I don't even need to do this because I don't need to keep it around. I don't care what the last text was. So I should be able to just return this directly, but I would follow the boilerplate for now, the boilerplate example, and then if I get it working, then start messing around with refactoring it. And then it's saying, once we've done that, destroy used object and release memory. So we have like the add reset. We have this here. What I don't have is how do we clean things up when we're done? We have initialization logic here. Uninitialize the GD extension. Initialize the types, uninitialize. So, to do from here, call down to OCR to do the following, question mark. Block quotes work. Okay. So yeah, so I'll have to do cleanup. I'll add a reminder to myself as well. How to handle cleanup. Code in register types. So yeah, like releasing memory and everything. It does seem like I probably, I might be able to do some cleanup. Do some cleanup here before returning. Because you'd think I should be able to do. Yeah, I should be able to do these things. If okay. Come on. There we go. And this probably, it's never going to need to be here because I'm never going to keep it around. So at a minimum, we can have it there. So out text, we would clean up. We create and clean up from here. But so that's the thing is, we're returning it, then we have to clean it up. That's fine. I'll figure it out. Yeah, so there might have to be a post-process cleanup step, and then a shutdown of the app cleanup. The program must be linked to the Tesseract OCR and Leptonica libraries. If you want to restrict recognition to a sub-rectangle of the image, call setRectangle. That's useful. After set image, each rectangle clears the recognition results, so multiple rectangles can be recognized with the same image. Get component image example. There's our image. Set up the API. We initialize it simply. Set the image. Get component image, boxes. Found however many, we then loop over them. Get component images. So I guess let's take the one big image and break it up into a bunch of components, and then we run OCR on that. I wonder what happens if there's like a word that crosses over between the two. Okay. Then it loops over it for each, sets the rectangle, and then gets it. Okay, that's cool. Result iterator example. It is possible to get confidence value and bounding box per word. Okay, cool. It is also possible to use other iterator levels, block, line, word, etc. Okay, this is super cool. Example of iterator over the classifier choices for a single symbol. Get confidence for different things. Alternative symbol choices per character. Compiling C++ API programs on Linux. C API in Python. Oh, cool. So you can call it directly from Python without... I mean, there is Pi Tesseract and other libraries as well in PyPI, but it sounds like this would let you call it more directly. C types, import C types. I don't know that library in Python. Load library, get the API, if RC, process image, API file name. So again, in all these cases, it still keeps wanting to do a file name, which is disappointing. I was hoping to give it like a file object or something, since I'm likely already going to have one, but that means I have to do file system rights probably. Extracting orientation. Okay. Using the C API in a C program can of course also be used by regular C programs, as in this very basic example. Die, main, handle. argc character array. Image, text, pick read, program using C++ API. Example, creating searchable PDF from image in C++. Sorry about that. All right. This is a great example for me getting some boilerplate code, but I guess this means I need to pull down the code. So let me start by cloning it. And where are you? All right. Git clone. Right, shift insert. Okay. And then we should be able to do tesseract include tesseract and then the base API. And there she is. Yep. Okay, so I got the code. I wonder if I can do my C settings. Can I just help it find the path? Hold on. Let's edit our config in the UI. So I wonder if we can do, what if we did go one directory up, and then always annoying getting used to using Windows again. Sure. Would that work? I don't have to save that, right? Oh, yeesh. It actually works. That's cool. Okay. It feels kind of gross. But, hey, it doesn't like it again. Oh, darn. Workspace folder. An include path is a folder that contains header files, such as my header. Tesseract base API.h. Oh, see, I probably have this wrong then. I don't want that. I just want the include directory, which is a little bit cleaner. Okay, so it's thinking and then trying to decide. Please update your include path. Squiggles are disabled for this. Yeah. Okay. So it is rebuilding this path every time I add this. Let's see what it says here. Specify a list of paths for the IntelliSense engine to use while searching for included header files. Searching on these paths is not recursive. We'll search through all subdirectories while... But see, we had this before and it couldn't find these, so I had to add them directly. If on Windows with Visual Studio installed, it is not necessary to list the system include paths to this list. All right. What if I did... C : dev tesseract include. I hate how it jumps to the top every time. What if it's C? Can't find C. Okay, well. C : Oh. So it did find it at least. That's useful. And it still doesn't like it. So this did work. So if I click off, I can't find that. But then if I do /... it found it. Okay, so it is able to find the path to tesseract include. And it should be tesseract include, tesseract base API.h. So this should work. and yet it doesn't. All right. I'll just keep playing around with it. And then what about leptonic? Yeah, what is this thing again? This is an R interface to the Tesseract OCR system. Yeah, okay, I don't care about R. No, thank you. Okay, well, Tesseract, what else do you guys have? So, best, most accurate training models. Test data fast integer versions of training. Okay, so they've got some things that I could experiment with. I might have to just do a bunch of R&D into Tesseract, but we'll wait for on that until after I actually get the thing kind of working. Main repository, test doc contrib, test data fast, test, blah, blah, blah. Lang data. Test train. Is a open source library containing software that is broadly useful for image processing and image analysis. Okay. Fundamental image processing. Examples of some applications enabled and implemented. Alright, so they release periodically. But docs. Do they have any docs beyond just the README? Okay, I might need that. Examples include reference document for users. Okay. Alright, so Tesseract doesn't have anything useful here for me. Not yet, anyway. So in their example, they're using all headers.h. What is that in that anyway? I assume there's nothing. It's going to be in source, right? All headers.h. right then. Okay. C++ API example. I think I may have already gotten to this. Yeah, I don't need to see that anymore. What was I searching for? PixRead. So I guess PixRead is... Is PixRead something in here? What is PixRead and where does it come from? It might just be an embedded Tesseract thing. Actually, speaking of, it's not in the .h file. This is base API, base API.cpp. Huh. So it's just kind of available. Which I guess means it just kind of has to be a part of Tesseract itself. All right. I'm willing to believe that. So then in an example like this, so again, this is that simple example that they said. So PixRead is actually part of Tesseract. But then again, what are they using OpenCV for? Why are those included? So in theory, ignoring these for the moment, this might be a complete example. So I just need to find a way to get Tesseract available. Now this implementation is slightly different. So they went Tesseract, test-based API, tests. So they just kind of defined its type without instantiating it as a new, with new here. But then they call a init on it. Whereas this is different syntax. This it passed in the path to test data. This just said don't bother. I wonder why. And then did some settings. And then called PixRead, which we do here as well. In this case, auto pix. I don't know what auto is. And then this is set image and recognize, which we also do set image. And instead of recognize, we call get UTF-8 text, which they also do in a slightly different way. See this very simple example. Yeah, I don't love that example. So building the latest library using software network client. So software network is this example here. So download the latest SW, run setup, and then call build. This is for Windows. Okay, so you could use Windows to build it yourself if you wanted to. Today it's possible to build a full set of Tesseract training tools on Windows with Visual Studio. You need to have the latest compiler, installed. Open paren, nothing closed. To do this, download, clone, run, and build it. Okay, so SW seems like a cool build tool, even though I never used it before. Static linking to build a .exe. without any DLLs or runtime dependencies. Use the packaging, VC package, CMake for development purposes. Building for x64. We have a look at blog compiling Leptonica and Tesseract. Ooh, okay. This might tell me a bit more about Leptonica. Ooh, love these pages here for reading. Ming wget install those things. Wget libtool autoconf pthreads. Okay. SVN checkout. Why use okay. SVN, I guess. Whew. Getting it from these docs must be old. When was this last updated? I mean, it's making references to which version of Tesseract. Is this even available anymore? 404. Yeah, it's not even a thing. These docs are that old. Okay. 2012. Ooh, man, love it. So this page here is a bit out of date. I do have MSys 2. You need to install if you wish to build. Okay. Fine. Cygwin. And I also have Ming W. So what is, I gotta learn what all these different things are, because I have Ming W, W64, and MSys 2. Like, what are these things and what's their difference? It has these prereqs, OSX. Okay. Well, you know, if it's easier on OSX, you know, again, can I build something and check it into my repo and then never have to build it ever again? If I can, like, then sure, I'll use, you know, Xcode or Mac ports, git clone, compile. All right. Training tools. Oh, homebrew. Yeah, so brew install a bunch of stuff. And then clone it. Run a shell script. Configure package path. And then run make. Alright, so far this is feeling like a huge waste of time. Use the same tools for building Tesseract as you used for building. Okay. Hopefully I don't need to build it. Okay, well, I got some good pseudocode going. I do need to figure out how to import this library properly and actually call it from here. Because right now this isn't going to work. Actually, I could test it right now if I wanted. Pretty sure it's not going to work, but... yeah. Terminated. Can't find it. Doesn't know what it is. And this setup here is probably just for this editor, right? This isn't going to get used as part of the build because I'm doing it external. This is just workspace setup. But that's really just so that it can provide this sort of help. Actually, what that means is it is looking for it here. I wonder if I copy that over. Yeah, like if I copy tesseract, well, include test base, and we'll put that in reading room source test. If I do that, is that all that's needed to make it happy? Maybe? Okay, now. What about this? Again, this is not going to succeed, but... hey. Okay, so... that's interesting. So what if I... let's go crazy. I can always delete it. Copy dash recursive tesseract include directory test star, and then we'll put that in source. And yeah, now we've got a bunch of stuff in here. And now if I go and build it, where is it going to fail? It's going to think about it. Include tesseract version. No such file directory. Include because it's just these .h files, and it's going to look for version.h, version.h.in. Is that what they had on GitHub? Why is that dragging? Version.h.in. Okay. But if I go back out and I go to source, would it even be? Let me find this here. Version.h. Version.h.in. sw.cpp. libtesseract configure file. Include tesseract. This is where I was. Right? Yeah, include tesseract version h.in, comma. And then instead of the include directory, just the root. So if I go there, so that's saying include tesseract. Yeah, include tesseract, the IIN file. Or we just go to tesseract. Was there a tesseract? There is no tesseract directory. Source. Version. Include tesseract. Interesting. So there's something I just don't understand. Yeah, I feel like breaking things. Let's break stuff, shall we? Let's go crazy. So, we're already here, right? So, I can always delete this stuff later. Let's just do that. I want to just keep going. I want it to fail in a beautiful way. I don't want to import failure. I want like a you're doing it wrong failure. No such file or directory. So it wants to go to a tesseract directory. Okay, whatever. I'm not doing the right thing here. Oh, wait. What am I doing? Okay, good. I didn't touch anything. Let's do copy reading room, source, test, version, and we'll hackily put it in the same place. Cool. And then I could have done that quicker another way, but now can we get a more beautiful failure, more spectacular failure, not just a silly import failure. Now it can't find Leptonica. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna stop there. I need to just figure out how to install this thing and actually make it callable and actually have it build and be able to call it. What I want is I want my errors to be in here somewhere, or I'll even take error happening here and then an error happening there. And we'll just kind of go from there. But I think with that, I'll stop the stream.